Live from Boston, it's Keep Pound Den.
Final score in the game, the Boston Bruins have gotten to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time since 2013. Tuukka Rask with his 6th career playoff shutout, his first since 2014. The Boston Bruins 3, the Columbus Blue Jackets nothing, and in the series 4-2. And for the Bruins, it is on to meet Carolina.
Oh man, Chris, how awesome was that? What a montage, huh?
I didn't hear anything. Was something playing?
Yeah, it was a great recap of
No, I'm being for real. I think there might be a mess up. I really didn't hear anything.
Well, whatever. It was the Bruins recap of them winning. Tuukka Rask getting the shutout. Maybe I muted it on you, but who cares? It's the
Bobby, did you hear anything?
For the sake of trash.
No, I'm being serious. I really didn't hear anything.
By the way, I didn't have much to wear, so I wore this, guys. I don't know if, hopefully you don't mind too much. But, hey, Chris, it's the day we've been waiting for all year.
It's one of these bandwagon fans we've been hearing about.
Welcome to the Keep Pound Den podcast. Back in studio tonight, powered by Ortho Carolina. Den, Bobby, and Chris here with you for the next hour or so. Check out the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and over on theriotreport.com. We're going to get to the Bruins Hall of Honor, some of the all-time Panthers teams that we can think about, safety shakeups, hot takes around the web, everything tonight, guys. But, Chris, I didn't think you guys would be joining us here in the Eastern Conference Finals, so welcome.
What are you talking about? We got here a week ago. We've been waiting on your sorry asses.
That's true. You guys did have a nice little wait, but we just wanted to make it exciting, you know?
If that's what you want to call it.
But hey, we're gonna get to hockey in a minute. Let's at least cover the basics here on the podcast. We're gonna get to some football stuff first. Just a few things to take care of. Greg Little, hey, making the NFL All Rookie Team prediction, but Brian Burns does not. How much do you care about that?
0.
Me too, Bobby. Any stock into that?
I don't care about any reports that come out before the season start,
or at least before the summer, right?
Yeah, before the season. If it's not week 1 or after, I don't care about the report.
Yeah, well, whatever. Chris, you definitely did hear that montage. Like, I'm actually asking you in a serious way. I want to make sure our stuff's not broken.
Didn't.
All right, well, maybe our stuff's broken, but hopefully our listeners heard it. But anyway, hey, just some news today. Julius Peppers hired as a special assistant to the Panthers. He's going to take care of special projects on the business side and be a part ambassador to the team. So Peppers is kind of back, but not really.
He's in the building. That's worth something. It's going to be interesting to see how he does it, considering he lives in Miami, but details.
Dude, wearing a hockey sweater is weird. I haven't worn one in a while.
Listen to him, Bobby. What a hardo. He's calling it a sweater.
It is a sweater. You know, I know. I prepared for this whole, like, bandwagon thing, by the way.
What, did you go get that today? Or?
No, I've had this since the Stanley Cup run.
That does look like a child size.
It's actually a Chara jersey. I'm kind of I'm not a big Chara fan. I wanted a Nathan Horton jersey, but they didn't have any. And I wanted to buy a jersey, so I got a Chara jersey. But
gone too soon.
Yeah. Anyway, Cersei also cut this week, yet no safety signed. What does it all mean?
Dude, this is what I was trying to tell you. You were getting all excited the other day, or maybe it was yesterday. This week's been a blur. That you thought a safety signing was going to happen because the comp pick window had closed, but we don't have any comp picks to play with because of the free agents we signed this year. So if they were going to sign one, they would have signed him a while ago. It's the same reason they signed Chris Hogan a few weeks ago. He was waiting on some teams to get through the comp window, and the Panthers weren't. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I thought they still might. I guess wait. I don't know. I guess if no one else was doing it, and yeah, I mean,
there's
nothing to lose. I guess you're right. I don't know why.
There's nothing to gain by signing anybody today, and I think we're all just talking about Trey Boston here.
So, but then
Trey knows the playbook.
But what's to gain though? Then cutting Cersei now.
I mean, money comes off the cap. It comes off the cap. Doesn't matter.
But doesn't it still come off the cap, even if they waited?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between just getting a guy out of a room versus adding a guy. I know that sounds silly, but
okay.
I think there's an advantage to not having a guy on payroll because then you're not paying that guy's workout bonuses. You're not paying for his medical treatments. I mean, he's off the payroll.
Yeah, I mean, the minute I saw that, I joked about it last pod, was the Panthers app, you know, whenever it comes up and it's like, new notification from the Panthers, and it was all these things like that had nothing to do with football. They were like all bugging me out all week, but this one actually did have to do. And now we're all waiting for the next one. I don't know. There was a bogus Trey Boston to the Chiefs deal. Luckily, that's not true.
Yeah, I think it was from Adam Schefter. So,
dude,
you got to keep
one of
an
my
eye
favorite
on that kind
things
of stuff.
is blocking people like that on Twitter. It's like, come on, dude. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into our topics here on the side. Of course, the big one this week was the Hall of Honor. We talked about it last week. Who would be on your Panthers Hall, or who would be in your first class? Obviously, a few of them were, or at least one of them, or two of them, I guess. Jordan Gross and Smitty were pretty givens. But did you guys expect Walls and Delhomme to be in the first class?
I think that Wesley Walls gets forgotten about, just how good he was here. So that one doesn't surprise me. Jake, I wanted it in my heart. I didn't think it would necessarily happen, but as I was listening to FNZ this week and, reading some pieces on it, like Jake meant a lot to this team. That was the first, I shouldn't say the first. I mean, Kerry Collins was supposed to be, that guy, and that didn't pan out. And then we had Burline, and they got rid of him probably before they should have. But Jake was really that first guy that felt like he was ours, even though he played with the Saints, So I'm pretty stoked that he got in there.
Yeah, Bobby, how'd you feel about that first class? We talked about Delhomme. I never thought that he would be that early. I don't know.
I mean, I think people need to stop talking about it like it's the NFL Hall of Fame.
True,
it's the Hall of
but
Honor.
I mean,
Yes, you're right.
the big discussion this week was,
it's
did
a big
Moose get
discussion because
snubbed?
we don't have anything. Let's stop overhyping stuff just because it's Carolina. It's just a big discussion because we don't have crap.
No, I'm saying the discussion this week, especially on Wilson and Parcell, was Moose. Did Moose get snubbed here?
He'll get in.
He will.
Everybody will get in.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't put everybody in the first go round, or else you'll have nobody next year.
But true. But there is something special about being in the first class. I mean, am I wrong?
Is it really?
I think so. In the first one ever?
Nah, I mean, it just is. Listen, here's the thing about it. You have to leave some people off because you got to have room the next season after that, the season after that. Like, you got to have room. So, I mean, I'm not putting any stock into these guys that are in the Hall of Honor. Should have been done 10 seasons ago, but it wasn't. Listen, the guys are in the Hall of Honor. It'd be great to see the next class next season. Next off season, or however often they decide to do this. It'll be great to see. I'm not going to overhype something just because we're like the only team in the world who never does anything. So it's done. Those guys are in. It's great to see Wesley Walls in. He deserves to be in. I don't think there's any surprise there whatsoever. He had a string of like 4 or 5 seasons from like 95 to 99 or something crazy like that, where he was very, very good for us. Jake Delhomme, he never really had any eye-popping seasons. I think 04 was a solid season.
Yeah, he was a Pro Bowler one year.
Yeah.
That year Steve Smith won the Triple Crown, Jake was real good. That was either 04 or 05. When Steve should have been the MVP that year.
Yeah, I mean, Jake had a 04, 05, I think it was. He never touched 30 touchdowns for us, but one year he did have 29, I believe. So, I mean, Jake is always one of my favorite Panthers ever, just because to me he was what I've always wanted to see Cam Newton be on the field. Like, other than the silent emotion, I always loved Jake's vocal standpoint, not just on the sideline, but on the field. Like, he was a firecracker. Yes, he was on the field. And that's what I've always loved about Jake. And to be honest, I gravitated to Jake as a Panther fan more than I gravitated to anybody else, just because I loved his spirit on the field. I remember in the Super Bowl, he cussed one of the defenders out.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
It's amazing. Yeah,
like, you couldn't understand you couldn't even rip read him or read his lips because he was doing like just that Cajun accent. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Oh man, he was probably dropping cuss words we don't even know exist.
Yeah, so I mean, to see Jake and listen, it just goes back, man. I've been a Panther fan for a very long time. So for me, these guys deserved this a long time ago, but I'm not going to put too much stock into guys like Moose not getting in. I can almost guarantee you next go round he'll be in. They just have to have somebody for next time, because remember, we don't have a lot of great players. We have a lot of good players, but we don't have a lot of great players in our history. So if you put everybody in now, you may end up waiting 3 or 4 years before you can realistically put somebody else in. So holding Moose off, I think, was a good idea.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things too is I thought maybe it had something to do with maybe not putting three guys that were basically on the same team in together, and also two receivers in together. Like at least you spread the positions around. I think that might have had something to do with it too.
I think for Jordan Reed. I'm sorry, not Jordan. Wesley Walls. That goes back to the early days. So now you've got a connection to not the first season, but the second season. So you've got those early, first in people, maybe people who haven't paid attention a lot lately. They're going to remember that name. Then, Jake, Jordan, and Smitty all found their different ways in. One was a first-round pick. One was drafted as a third-round punt returner, and the other was an undrafted free agent we got from New Orleans, So all different routes, but all made it to the top. So one thing I thought was cool listening to Tep Dog talk yesterday, he said that they're not going to induct players until 2 years after they retire. So yeah. So that puts some space. I think we know who the 2021 class is going to be headlined by. Yep. But, now next year we don't have to talk about, Khalil and Julius.
Yeah. Right. And going back to Walls and Moose there, I mean, Moose being the second all-time Panthers receiver yards-wise, Walls is number 4, just passed by Greg Olsen somewhat recently. But, Kelvin Benjamin's number 7 on that list. So let's be honest. Sad. I mean, the Panthers' all-time receiving list, not to take anything away from Smith, Muhammad, Olsen, Walls, even Mark Carrier in there. But Kelvin Benjamin, Brandon LaFell is number 8 on the list. Funchess Ginn, 9 and 10. And Donald Hayes in there as well. So I'm
played like 2 seasons.
Yeah, the receiving list in Carolina isn't anything wild, but
that's my point. That's what I was saying earlier. It's like, let's not overhype it. It's not like we have a list of Hall of Fame players, but we do have some very good players up in Carolina.
I mean, I think Moose is number 30 all time. Yeah. In receiving yards, or maybe it's receptions. I think it's receiving yards. He's number 30 all time.
Yeah, and that's actually a great point.
He's a good player.
This is all offense coming in from Twitter here. Yeah, all offensive players. Maybe next year they do go all defense, because there's certainly a lot more defensive guys who've made an impact here.
Well, no, we just said you're going to get Moose next year.
Well, maybe.
And I think that's you get John Casey next year.
That's just hearsay right now. You never know.
I wouldn't be shocked.
But interesting that
John
there's 0
Fox next year.
John who?
Ooh,
yeah,
boy.
I know.
I'll pass.
That Bears coach?
Ooh,
I'll
boy.
pass. I mean, here's a question: like, do you start letting guys like John Beeson in?
I think so. John Beeson was a 3-time All-Pro.
Yeah, I think you'd have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's another defender.
What about guys who had short stints?
Well,
I think Kevin Green would be a great fit.
Exactly what I was going to say. How long do you have to be on the team to make the Hall of Honor? I mean, you brought out that other teams.
You brought up
Reggie White. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd go Reggie White, but I think I'd certainly go Kevin Green.
You say it was Denver that had the guys that played one or maybe 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's what I brought up last week when they'd induct John Lynch for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people do is they try to induct them based upon their career versus what they did there, and once you start doing that, it's not special anymore to me.
Well, no, I agree. But I think like those older teams, like the Bills, the Packers, the Broncos, like they just have to. They got to put somebody in the Ring of Honor once a year. Yeah.
Definitely. I think another thing that really stands out to me, guys like Mike Minter, guys like Chris Gamble, those guys will probably get a call. So it may have been all offense this year, but we got some defenders that need to go in as well.
I agree.
Well, hey, while we're on the subject, Chris, you brought up a great point where this is a perfect time to not only go over kind of the Hall of Honor, but if you threw it out there, if you had to pick your Panthers all 22, 11, well, I guess a little more than 22, 11,
25.
Yeah, 11 defense, 11 offense, and then 3 special teamers. I sat down today and I threw my list together. And this is what I would do. You just mentioned some of the names, Bobby. I'm going to go ahead and put it up there on the right. Let's go down these, and we can bring you guys in on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube as well.
Did you just hit the Boston accent? Twitter.
Yeah. There's no R. There's no R's this week. I'm getting real warm in this hockey.
I bet you are.
Jersey the hockey what?
Hockey sweater. I haven't worn a hockey jersey since high school.
You just said you had that for the Stanley Cup run.
No, but I never wore it ever.
I got a problem.
Just keeps changing.
Yes, and yes, on Facebook, this is a Bruins jersey because, real quickly, we're going to get into the game in a minute. But
it's a series.
Whatever. I've been very supportive of the Canes and you, Chris, all year. I gave you your own segment. I supported the Canes. I love what Dan and Sarah and all
Bobby,
them.
I think I took my own segment. Wouldn't you say?
You did,
Yeah,
and have been doing over there. And I have rooted for the Canes, but I never expected them to, like I said, join us here in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, born and raised here in Boston, I'm sorry. You can get me on the Panthers, but you don't root for other hockey teams here in Boston. I'm sorry.
I've been to Boston. I root for other hockey teams. It's not hard.
Anyway, I want to go down this list. So I think QB you got to put QB1, right?
Yeah.
Running back, there certainly are options. I don't think McCaffrey's eligible there yet. So I'm going to go Chase too.
Lie again.
Yeah,
What?
I went McCaffrey on my list. Bobby, did you too?
I have to go Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Really? Even though Jonathan Stewart is
thoroughly
the all-time leading rusher?
I think that Christian McCaffrey's had 2 better seasons than Jonathan Stewart's ever had.
And the reason why I'm going Christian McCaffrey, and I don't care what anybody says, the reason I'm going CMC, you don't have to wait until somebody passes somebody on the list to say that they're better than someone. Nobody has ever commanded this offense at the running back spot like CMC has.
Okay. I trust me. I have nothing against Christian. I have nothing against Christian
Just say
McCaffrey.
yes, Bobby. You're right.
No, you
Just, just tell me, what did you ever have to stress about Jonathan Stewart versus getting ran over? He wasn't going to outrun you. He was going to run you over. He was going to break a few tackles. Christian McCaffrey can do all of that. And on top of that, he brings the element to the game that we've never seen in Carolina. He can catch out of the backfield.
That's true.
On top
you don't
of that,
have
he
to
can line up in the side. Like, come on, man.
You don't have to convince me on Christian McCaffrey. I'm not a
I'm
a Bruins fan, but I'm
CMC.
not a Panthers fan here.
Right, but I'm convincing you on the fact that you don't have to be number 1 or number 2 on the list.
My point is, if you're asking me to pick the Panthers All 22 team, and you ask me to pick one running back, I have to go with Jonathan Stewart, the leading rusher, not the ninth rusher on the list, who's been on the team for 2 years.
No disrespect, but
right
you're
now, I can't do that.
So
Right
you're
now, I
saying
can't do
based
that.
upon a list.
Yeah.
Okay. So time out. So if
what I heard.
CMC was number 1 on the list, you pick CMC.
Well, I think it's unfair to put CMC in an argument with Jonathan Stewart, D'Angelo Williams, Deshaun Foster, Steven
let me
Davis,
interject.
and ask
Jonathan
who
Stewart's
makes the
mom
Panthers
wouldn't
All
take Jonathan
22
Stewart
team.
over Christian McCaffrey.
Then
I think
mean,
it's fair.
we're not making a list of statistics. We're making a list of, if you had to line these guys up to go against all Browns, all Patriots, all Giants, whoever.
Well, how do you know I don't have Christian McCaffrey as my third receiver, my flex?
Because the third receiver's not on this list.
I know.
We're not talking about flex. But anyway, go ahead and go with your list. We're being unfair. Go ahead. Go with your list.
So I mean, this is just my list, and this is why we're doing this. You guys can argue with me all day. I think you got to put Brad Hoover there at fullback. I don't think you can put Tolbert there.
Correct.
Steve and Moose
Correct.
are not even an argument,
Not.
right? Mm-hmm. Tight end, you can have an argument.
You can have
You
one, but
can.
it's short.
You
It
can.
is.
Chris Mangum too, but Greg Olson I think wins that one. Now it gets real interesting when you start doing the line.
Well, I think we can all agree on Jordan Gross.
Hands down.
I think, God, it's sad to say, but Michael Orr's number 2, probably. Jesus.
Ooh, I did forget him. Okay. I threw Frank Garcia in there because, he's good on the radio. And that left guard
trash
position
human,
has been
but-
so bad.
Yeah. How did you not put Trey Turner there?
That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
I tried to stay away from like this year's team. I mean,
Because you're being
as bad as
biased.
that is, yeah, it's like, wow, is this the best team they've ever had? Maybe.
It's like with Jeff Hangartner. Like, you don't have to go with this year's team. You're going recency bias. I would go Travell Wharton there.
Okay. See, this is why we're doing this. This is a great exercise.
You thought we were all going to have the same people.
And then I was looking, is Taylor Moton the best right tackle they've ever had? That's been a tough spot too.
That's a good question.
It's Mike Rimmers. That's recency bias.
Exactly.
Mike Fox. That's old school though. You guys probably don't remember.
There's actually a great
Super
site I
old
should have
school.
sent you guys that literally has the depth chart in a very like small line. It doesn't take up your whole thing, where you can go down like 15 years.
Travell Wharton played right tackle a lot too. So
Yeah.
You probably picked Hangartner because of his versatility.
Okay.
I would argue that Wharton had more versatility.
I also picked
and was a better player.
I also picked Handgartner because he's funny and he wrote the rookie handbook that's right over there. And
Biased.
he took a picture with me. So he gets on my all 22
Super
team.
biased.
Yeah. Anyway, the defense gets a lot more fun.
We can just skip 1 through 6 here.
You think so? I was going to ask you
Yeah.
about Jenkins in short. You like that in the middle?
That's who I had.
Okay. Charles Johnson, I think you have to let him in there, right?
I don't have to do a daggone thing.
Yeah, but like I thought
But
about
there are
this.
other
Like,
guys there. There are other names.
It was Mike Rucker, it was Greg Hardy, and then
Hardy
the list gets pretty
Hardy's
dry
ineligible.
pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did eventually go CJ.
I'm not going CJ. My list is a little bit different than this.
Who you got?
I actually got Mike Rucker there, to be honest with you.
Okay, that's fair too. But CJ does. I'm going through the all-time stats. CJ does own a lot of them.
That's fine, but he also has me blocked on Twitter, so that like automatically.
Ooh, yeah, that does bring you down.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
So
that's my negative like 10 points. Yeah.
yeah, so he's not on my list. Now I can be biased.
Linebackers, I think, is pretty
First two are safe.
unarguable. Okay.
Yeah.
Does Kevin Green count?
I had Sam Mills.
Oh.
Why do you have Sam Mills?
I'm the worst.
I think because production, what he did in his short time. I mean, if we're playing that game with Kevin Green, I think you can absolutely play it for Sam Mills.
Okay.
And Sam Mills, I think, should be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm actually going to be a little different here.
Bobby's gonna take Shaq. Here we go.
No, not at all. You can give me now. See, it's kind of tricky. So this doesn't have to be inside or outside. It's just linebacker, right?
3 linebackers.
Okay. I'm gonna stick with Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis on that list, but I'm also gonna.
I know what you're gonna
Someone
do
who
here.
hasn't played yet.
Just give me John Beeson.
Oh, okay.
See, I was in the same boat. My first guy out was Dan Morgan.
But I think
Nice.
you also have to play them at their position. Like, I'm not going to put Beeson.
You can put Dan Morgan wherever you want on a
That's
football
true,
field.
but
you can put Luke Kuechly wherever you want on a
but
football
not
field.
John Beeson.
True.
That's true.
So that's Luke. I mean, I didn't list. I did list Luke in the middle. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, it's either way. I think the list is pretty solid as far as linebackers because we've always had great linebackers.
Yeah.
To me.
That's the one where we have that argument for all-time players.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Den, I can't see because of the screen and where
Okay.
our heads are on the screen. I can't see your cornerbacks.
okay, cornerbacks. I have Josh Norman, which might be a controversial one, just as far as his short stint, but I think his play makes him a spot there. And also
skill set.
and also
I
of
also
course,
had Josh.
Of course, Chris Campbell.
Yeah, I had Chris Campbell.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Although I'm not going to argue with it. I'll leave it.
Who do you like? Ken Lucas.
Well,
I thought about Ken, and Ken had some good years, but I still think Josh is one of the most talented. The other one I had was Eric Davis. He was my
and that's who I was thinking about. Eric Davis was, but when I think about he wasn't better than Chris Gamble, and he wasn't better than Josh Norman. So that's why I would leave those guys there. But Eric was close. Eric was really, really close. And definitely to answer your question, no way I would take Ken Lucas over any of those guys. So, I mean, besides, you can't be getting beat up by a guy that's 5'9". That automatically disqualifies you. You got your nose broken by Smitty. You got to, he's 5'9". You got your nose broke, so you're automatically disqualified.
I just looked down at my my chart here and just somehow landed on the name Mike Goodson. Wow. Forgot about him in the backfield.
I kept thinking Mike Goodson was going to be
And
great.
randomly, I know I'm jumping back to the offense. It's a fun little trivia question. Besides Cam Newton, which quarterback has the most rushing yards all time?
Chris Winkie.
Nope.
Rodney Pete.
Probably Jake, I guess, just from volume.
Nope.
Matt Moore?
Nope.
Can't be Kerry Collins. He didn't run.
Steve Berline.
Berline, yeah,
gosh,
makes
how
sense,
did I
yeah.
not say that?
It's a weird fun fact for someday when you need to pull one out. Anyway, back to the list. Safeties, I think, is another one where if you count Eric Reed as an all-time, he's his second year on the team. I'm going to count him. Safety's been a tough position for us. Although Mike Minters, I think, is a shoe-in.
I don't have Mike Minter on
You
mine.
don't.
Wow,
Okay.
who do you have?
I have Deion Grant, who was one of those guys, like, when you look back at free agents you let walk, like he's all-time, first-time regrets on letting somebody walk.
You know what was
is great.
interesting about Deion Grant? He ended up playing for more teams than I thought. I mean, I think it was
He's Seattle, the Giants.
Jacksonville too, right? He did a few years
Jacksonville, yeah.
Like, I really felt like if Carolina could have anchored him, and signed him in, that would have been a long-term safety for us.
Yeah.
And I think he left us to go to Jacksonville, which was, funny, but, coming in as expansion teams. But I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think he ended his career in New York, which was next to nothing at that point. But I don't know. I would have. That's a great pick, actually. Very underrated pick there.
Yeah, we drafted him, the second round, I think?
I can't remember.
And then let him walk. And he did. I mean, dude had a good career. I mean, he had 6 sacks? How many? And that's a lot for a safety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
30 career interceptions. That'd probably be number 1 on our all-time list.
Yeah, that's pretty solid, man.
And
So,
Eric Davis was also a name that came up in the cornerbacks. That's actually a good one too.
Yeah, no, I brought him up.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you say that. Sorry, that was from Twitter.
Oh, you hear that, Bobby? He didn't.
You
hear
know,
me. Nobody's listening. Yeah,
I didn't hear what name was
but
that.
back to
Eric Davis.
Oh yeah, we brought him up.
back to
Yeah.
safeties though.
That 30 interceptions would be the all-time lead for the Panthers, considering Chris Campbell has 27.
Interesting.
There you go.
But then at my other safety position, man, love him or hate him, man, but I think that Kurt Coleman is probably, I wanted to go Eric Reed, but considering I put this criteria in my mind that you have to play 1 full season, and Eric still hasn't done that.
Yeah.
Eric will, if I had to tell you who the best player to ever play safety for us was, it's Eric Reed, and I don't think it's close.
Mm-hmm.
But Kurt, man, came out of nowhere, had a couple good years. He got banged up and just couldn't recover. And I think Kurt on his best day was better than Mike Minter on his best day.
Mm.
And I think that's how you have to look at it.
I think Kurt had a lot. He first and foremost, he was faster than Mike to me, but he also had the speed to make up the yards that were lost.
Yeah, and he wasn't.
When Kurt Coleman was good.
Mike, and this is not a knock on Mike, but Mike was a small guy, and Mike got run over a lot.
He could hit though.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Kurt could hit too, man. Remember that video he did with Sir Purr?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Kirk could definitely hit, and like I said, when Kirk was good, that speed was all over the field. Like he would fly over the field, and even his days in, I believe it was Kansas City, or was it Philly? One of them. He was just
City,
flying.
Yeah. He was in both. He was in both, but
well, that's what it was then. Okay. Yeah. He was always flying over the place. So it's unfortunate we got Kurt on the end of his career, and we couldn't get another 3 years out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking at defensive touchdowns, by the way, I'm just looking at some fun facts while I have these up. Captain Munnerlyn is all-time, by the way, in 5 touchdowns on defense for the Panthers. Number 2, Mike Minter with 4, and then it's 2 pretty far down the list, and Kurt Coleman is one of them. Richard Marshall, Eric Davis, Chris Gamble, Josh Norman. Peppers even has 2 defensive touchdowns.
Richard Marshall was another one of those guys kind of in that Deion Grant mold that just got away.
Yeah.
Like that we let the wrong guys walk. Who was the lineman that was all pro for Denver in the Evan Mathis? Remember we drafted him, cut him the year we drafted him, I think. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he played 1 year and we cut him, and then he's a 4-time all pro guard.
Yeah. When Richard Marshall left and he went over to Arizona, that was like the worst thing for me. Because I really felt like had we locked him down, we would have been good. It's similar to what we were talking about. I just forgot who we were talking about a few minutes ago. Say the guy who left us, safety who left, was it Deion Grant?
Deion Grant, yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to him, man. Even though we had, I believe Richard Marshall a couple more years longer than we had Grant.
We had him as rookie deal, so I think 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I think we ended up actually signing him beyond that, right?
Yeah, 2001
he might have got a second deal because he had 5 years. So he probably had this is before the CBA as we know it now. Yeah. So I think it was 3 years, and then he got a 2-year extension or something.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was a second round grab, I believe. So.
Yep.
Oh man, Sherrod Martin. There's a name for you.
Ooh, nice.
Put up there with Charles Godfrey.
Yeah. Anyway, those are the
fire team.
Good old Godfrey.
Those are the 11 there. But hey, let's go to special teams. I think you got to put John Casey at kicker, even with the Super Bowl blunder.
Correct.
My guy, your guy, Chris, Jason Baker. I put him in at punter.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's where I had him.
He was a nice guy. We interviewed him 2 years ago at the draft. That gets you points on my all 22. Just like blocking us on Twitter gets you negative points.
There you go.
So,
well, can I be completely honest about something for a moment?
Yes.
When it comes to field goal kickers for Carolina, I'm gonna take Graham Gano over John Casey.
Oh boy,
that's fine.
I mean, because in Den's world, Because in your world, statistics mean more than.
Yeah, this guy just played longer.
Well, let me pull up some stats then between the two of them, okay?
Go ahead, because Graham Gano is beyond him for field goal percentage for Carolina.
Yeah, but you know that I don't care about field goals. I care about one thing.
I don't want to talk about 1 point. I want to talk about 3.
Well, if you want to talk about the Lions game, let's talk about 1 point all day.
We could talk about Cam Newton overthrowing the pass in the Lions game too.
It's true.
Or we could talk about Devin Funchess dropping 7 passes, 5 passes in that game. Stop picking and choosing who you want to crucify, Dan.
97.9 for Casey, 95 for Gano.
But I don't.
We had a kicker named Richie Cunningham.
Here we go. Here we go. See, I don't care about specific, like the total number of kicks. To me, that I don't really care. I care about little things like game-winning field goals or like missed field goals that were like under 30 yards. You know what I mean?
All right, I got a tiebreaker here for you. Graham Gano averaged 45 yards per punt. Casey only 29.7.
There we go. So even though it's not, I'll take it because it works in my favor. Yeah. So then you said
all right,
under.
Hold on.
Then you said under 30 yards. Just a heads up, Graham Gano is 44 for 44 for kicks under 30 yards. But guess who has missed a field goal under 30 yards?
Oh,
John
wow.
Casey.
Okay, so here's an awful stat in my favor. John Casey missed. Wait, hold on. Yes. Wait, field goals made. No, that's not what I want. 9 for 9. There we go. 1 for 1. Here we go.
You're searching for something to use in your.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking. Sorry, this is a really terrible chart. Anyway, whatever. They're pretty similar.
No, they're not.
Extra points made though, John Casey. So there you go.
Oh, geez.
Win.
I mean, if 1 point means more than 3, you got it, man.
Yeah. Kickoffs in the Super Bowl may cost more on the rankings. That's a good point from Twitter. So we'll have to check that. But
Graham Gano would have never done that.
I'm putting John in there. I think he made, just off the top of my head, I think John made more clutch kicks than Graham Gano did.
You can't just assume that he did if you have nothing to back.
Sure
he also never made a 65-er yard or whatever it was.
Ever. And besides,
we had to carry a guy 4 kickoffs after the Super Bowl because he had too weak of a leg.
And besides,
I'm not trying to throw shade here, but I think Bobby, you're right.
I mean, you're being right. And plus, John Casey went and played for the rivals. He went and played for the Saints. Why would I?
Yeah, I'm not going to fault him for that because man's got to eat.
Yeah,
he only ate for 1 season with them. He didn't.
Yeah, well, I'm saying we let him go, so you know.
All right, I'm putting John Casey there. I'm putting Jason Baker there. So kick punt returner. We didn't really just. I guess you can put the same guy there. This one's kind of up for grabs. I mean, Panthers have really never, besides Steve Smith, I didn't want to put the same guy twice. I just wanted another name.
It's your list.
I just remember the Panthers had Rocket Ismail for at least a year.
There's a correct answer here and there's a wrong answer.
What is it?
You got it wrong.
Okay, what is it?
It's Michael Bates.
Talk to me about him.
Well, I mean, he was 3-4-time All-Pro as our kick returner in the late 90s. He may have not had a bunch of, I don't think he had any touchdowns actually, but he had a ton of yards. That's what he did, man. He was that guy.
I mean, you could really put anyone back there. Smitty maybe, Ted Ginn, Demir Bird even. I don't know if he'll last you a season, but I think every answer is right there, Chris, actually.
Actually, yeah, Michael Bates had 5 kickoff returns for a touchdown.
So
over 4 seasons on 70 on yeah.
So
not bad.
I'm not gonna lie. I had Steve Smith back there, but after looking at this Michael Bates argument, it's not even close. He had almost 6,000 return yards.
All right, so Bobby, besides Steve Smith, because we'll use the rule that you can't use him again, it has to be another player. Besides Steve Smith, and without knowing about Bates, who would your guy be? Just kind of off the top of your head.
Without Steve Smith, I would probably go Ted Ginn.
Dude, Joe Webb was a 0.
I would have gone Philly Brown.
In punt returning or kick returning, Joe Webb was a 0. Like, that's hard to do. That's like getting no numbers in Keno when you do 12.
But that pays. No numbers in Keno pays.
It does. That's why it's like a good thing. Like, it's not like he was a 1 or a 2. He literally had a 0 rating in
played some Keno.
I think it was kick
I would probably take Ted Ginn. I think combined he has almost 2,000 return yards between punt and kick.
But
and
you also have him here.
Yeah, but that's true. But no, he does. Like combined between.
I'm looking at it.
No. Combining he has 795 punt return yards and 994 kick return yards. So
okay, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so like combined. So here's the thing about Ted Ginn. We often say that we never had that punt or kick returner, but reality is a lot of the times when these guys broke, the kick came, the ball came back.
We've said that before.
And how many times did we see Ted Ginn break a big run and he just starts smacking the football when he turned around and saw that there was a flag and he'd be pissed off?
Someone made that joke. They said if Devin Hester was a Panther, he would have had 0 touchdowns.
That is probably a fact because we mess up every single time. And Ted Ginn, I think we spoiled a whole lot of games for him as far as his stats because there were games, I mean, even if it wasn't a touchdown, he was getting 20 to 25, 30 yards. And that makes a difference on the offense, So I would definitely take Ted Ginn there because those stats aren't of his fault, to be honest.
Kevin Ketchy coming in with He Hate Me. Rod Smart on
Smart,
Facebook as well.
XFL,
Thank you.
baby.
Thank you for that, Kevin.
What's up, Kev?
So,
guys, I'm not mad at Philly Brown here.
Ooh, that's actually, yeah.
You remember
I
that
think,
return he had?
Yeah, I think when you have that,
I said it like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, when you have that effort return, like you said, yeah.
The one against the Bears,
yeah. I think that's
he dropped and he picked it up or whatever.
That's bonus points.
We don't have a lot of studs.
Yeah,
a lot of studs here. A lot of volume. Not a lot of studs. Right. Captain Munnerlyn wasn't bad. Oof. When you look at his numbers.
Actually, I remember he did take one to the house. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, we spent a lot on our all 22.
There's Mike Goodson.
Fun stuff.
Number 4 all-time in kick returns.
Yeah.
Ahead of Ted Ginn.
Rod Smart's number 3.
Well, that was fun. Anyway, if you guys have any more all 22 picks, send them to us on our social media.
Ooh, Kealoha Pilares, the flying Hawaiian.
Can't forget him, man. Can't forget him. All right, let's move on.
You guys remember when we thought that Joe Adams was the answer?
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, he was the one that had that like crazy return in college, right?
He had a bunch of them.
Yeah, and Barry Sanders did. So,
and we got nothing from it.
All right.
He had he had 11 attempts. He was that bad. He had 11 punt returns.
All I'm gonna say is this: I understand that we're moving on from the subject, but Brenton Burson averages
right there, man. There he is.
He averages 23.9 yards per kick return.
Dude, I was gonna ask.
That's half a yard short of Steve Smith.
When we were talking about the Hall, do you know how Jerry wrote in that he needed the statue or that it couldn't be taking it down? Do you think that he like wrote in that Burson has to make the Hall of Fame if they make one?
Well,
I think he would have.
He hasn't retired yet, so
yeah. So
we'll save that argument for another day.
Anyway, let's move on to some hotter takes around the web. But Bobby, we're gonna actually start with you. Because you brought up a sore subject last week, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the screen. Okay. And you took some flack for it. But basically, we have the quote of you saying, "Until Cam can show us that he's truly healthy," talking about the draft, of course, that Will Grier deserves every bit of the hype and the talk that he gets about replacing Cam this season. Right. And when you said that, I immediately, I think, knew what you meant and took it one way and not the typical Bobby saying that Will Grier is going to replace Cam Newton. And just to go back and say how I took this was you got a quarterback here that couldn't throw the ball 20 yards, that won 6 games and all of a sudden just didn't have it for the rest of the year. They brought in Kyle Allen, they brought in Heineke. Cam was sat down. And, here you are saying that until Cam can show us he's better than, what percentage of Cam is Will Grier better than? You know what I mean? Like is a 50% Cam Newton still better than Will Grier?
What would we say he was week 15?
That's what I'm saying.
What percentage would you put on Cam
he's
week
like
15?
40%, like barely just
about
even
the line for me.
Yeah. So to me, I took this quote as, here's Will Grier, a guy who played his ass off. He's drafted in the 3rd round, deserves all the credit or whatever of making the NFL. Hometown boy, living in the moment. And right now, until Cam can show us that he can play 100%, that the talk about Will Grier is relevant. That's how I took this quote. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I can agree with that. But I never, ever thought that you said, Will Grier is going to take Cam's spot or Cam's job is in jeopardy or whatever. So just to kind of let you, now that you have the same kind of, I guess, audience, I wanted to let you kind of explain that a little more as to why you said that last week.
Well, then let's be clear. I don't give a damn what people on Twitter say. I don't feel like I have to explain anything to them, but I will do it because I just want to be sure and be clear about that, because people feel as if I need to explain myself to them about a quote versus they read the hot take versus listening. So here's what I meant, and I've told people this before. It's this simple. If Cam cannot show us that he is healthy, Will Grier should be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. I don't want to see 20 yards and less. 20. I don't want to see that. That is not what I want to see from my football team. I want to see a quarterback. I will take Will Grier's mistakes at 100% before I can accept Cam Newton's mistakes at 50%. I can't do it. It does not make sense to make it seem as if a 70, 60% Cam Newton is better than a 100% someone else. You know how ignorant that has to be to say out of your mouth, to say that, yes, I do a great job at what I do. I'm actually one of the best at the company that, does what I do. But if I'm not feeling good and I'm 50% of me, you know how dumb it has to be for my boss to say, yeah, you know what, Bobby, just keep going as hard as you can at 50%, and I'm not going to give that task to anybody else for this week. You know how dumb that is? Like, it's really stupid. And for people to think just because he's Cam Newton and he's shown us for going on 9 seasons that he can trailblaze through anything, understand, Cam Newton ain't 21 anymore. Those days are long gone. Cam Newton's getting older. He's slowing down. Things are catching up to him. Yes, he does an amazing job of keeping himself in shape, working during and outside of the season. Please understand that 50% of anything is not good. When you're trying to progress and you're trying to grow, 50% of anything is not good. Okay? 90%, maybe we can talk. But 50, 60%, that doesn't make sense.
And of course, see some comments coming in here, that Cam's ahead of schedule or he's working out on YouTube and all this stuff. Yeah, fine. That's I hope he's good.
What does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Like, everybody keeps giving me that same comment.
I'm just saying, I'm not even really saying if I agreed or disagreed with you. But I knew what you meant. And I felt like a lot of people didn't get that.
Here's the thing. Everybody keeps telling me what the schedule is. I don't care what his schedule is. Like, I'm so beyond these reports. Every offseason, we get these reports about how this person is progressing, but then when we get to the season, it's a different thing. Or you're during the season as a report that, he's not really hurt, or they're rehabbing it during the season, or they're giving him special attention, or medical staff says it is and it isn't this. I'm over that. We've been dealing with this for a long time, and people still buy into these reports that Cam Newton is doing this, he's doing that. We went through it last season. I told you guys, week 7, there was something wrong with Cam Newton. And everybody was like, you just trying to take up for him because he messed up. I said, anybody with eyes can see that there's something wrong with Cam Newton. I was saying it in week 7, week 11, so on and so forth. Nobody wanted to listen until the report came out that Cam Newton had shoulder issues. Like, they lie. Okay? They cover up. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to tell you, our quarterback isn't on schedule. You really think they would come out and say Cam Newton's not on schedule? Can you imagine? Think about this. Talking about media headlines. Can you imagine if Cam Newton was not on schedule and they came out and said that? Do you honestly think, with all the hype that's already going on behind Will Grier and Cam Newton, you really think they're going to come out and say he's not on schedule? No, they're going to pacify this. And if he's not ready week 1, what they're going to give you is, we're going to go ahead with Will Grier week 1, and we're going to monitor Cam Newton for next week. And knowing he may not even be ready until week 4 or 5, but they're not going to tell you that.
Right.
They're going to tell you what you need to hear to keep the media noise down.
They have to say he's 100% week 1 no matter what.
And not only that, but they have to put your butts in seats. Remember that. Cam Newton may be a hot topic in the media, but Cam Newton fills seats.
Yeah, you never know. Okay? Will Grier might fill some seats too.
But we're talking about a Super Bowl MVP versus a rookie.
I know. But hey, to stop you there, though, Bobby, so that's what you meant last week. But this week, you did say you had a question. Do you still want to ask that question? Because I have the graphic here. I just wanted to make sure with you. So on top of the question that you asked, or the quote that you had last week, this week you did say to me, and what you want to say to everyone else here is, knock on all the wood in the world, which is what I'm doing right here. If he does, I'm not even going to say it, or he's not, that shoulder just isn't healing. People say there are worries that they don't know what's wrong with it. It could just be dead or something. and, like they thought it would be. You threw out the contract. I mean, the question about the contract that's been going out. I'll go ahead and let you ask it the way you want to, but that's how you worded it to me about,
That's how I want to ask it.
Okay, so do we get out of Cam's contract if he is injured? Like, say Will Grier does come in. Is that it for Cam Newton? I'll ask you that first.
Well, if Will Grier, to answer that, if Will Grier comes in,
I know this is like super hot takey, but hey, it's friggin' May 8th. Let us have this conversation.
I mean, here's the thing. If Will Grier comes in, that doesn't mean it's the end of Cam Newton. Will Grier could start the first 4 games of the season. It doesn't mean it's it for Cam. With me asking if Cam Newton gets hurt again or if the shoulder isn't what we thought it would be, meaning perfectly healthy or at least close to healthy, do we get out of the contract after this season? I asked that question because I want to know logically what people think, because asking that question means if he gets hurt again and we're unsure of his future being able to perform up to Cam Newton standards, or if the shoulder is clear that it's not going to be healthy anytime soon, do you continue to pay him going into next season? Do you go ahead and clip those wings and say, you know what, Will Grier, you're going into your second season, the boat is yours? Or do you say, Cam, we're going to hold on to you for one more season, even though we know you're injured, and we just went through this last season and the season before, and we're going to see what you can give us in 2020 and then see if we want to sign you. So that's the thing. It's like I always wonder how to look at it. That's why I asked the question. Like, if he's clearly not healthy this season, and even if he plays through the pain again, and he still looks similar to how he did last season, do you go ahead and get out of that contract?
I mean, the Bill Belichick book tells you to get out of it sooner than later. So it's a decision that no one here wants to make. I'll tell you that.
Because they're thinking with their Jerry Richardson head. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, Cam brings so much to the team. It's been his style team for this long. It's always, oh, hey, when Cam's healthy. But you're right. It's a lot of, hey, Cam wasn't healthy again too. So and it's not because he's a running quarterback and that he's reckless and his play style is because of I hate that argument. First of all. Has nothing to do with that.
It's asinine.
Yeah, all the injury hits he's taken have been in the pocket. So.
Right. And here's the thing. I heard some of these same rumblings when people thought Luke was going to be concussion prone. Same exact rumblings. It was, oh, we need to trade him or don't pay him when his contract is up. These things are going to happen. Like, people have to stop. These guys are not God.
Can't control that stuff, man.
Yeah, they're not forbidden to be spoken about if things come up. At the end of the day, yes, we have emotional attachments to these players, but at the end of the day, this is a business, right? Your job is not going to keep you. If your job is to be, if you deliver mail for a living, do you really think your job is going to keep you if you can't walk? Like, think about that. Like, if you have a right leg injury and you can't move as fast as you used to get this mail delivered on time, do you think there's going to be someone at your job that's going to say, nope, make sure you keep him around because he has a good heart? No.
And on that, a good heart, coming in here on Twitter as well. Yeah, Cam's going to say he's a competitor and always wants to go, as is that mailman. But at some point, you're affecting the business,
At what point does does the player become bigger than the business?
I understand. Yeah.
Because if you look back in history, again, I feel like I have to throw this out lately. I don't know why. You guys know I've defended Cam Newton more than probably anybody you know, right? Here's the thing. At what point in history of sports, I mean, we're talking about champions, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey. We're talking about champions that won multiple rings for franchises, that were MVPs of championships. Even those guys were let go of and moved on from. And they brought championships.
Yeah, but I think those guys weren't 29 years old.
Right. Right. I understand that. But if those guys would have had nagging injuries at 29 and uncertainty surrounding them, it would have been the same discussion.
I don't know.
I'm not saying to let them go, Chris.
No, I know you're not. But I think a lot of these teams, like, I'm trying to think of, maybe somebody. Oh, okay. This is a true story. That movie with the Browns and Kevin Costner. What was that? Draft Day?
Draft Day, yeah.
Remember, they wouldn't let go of Brian Drew, and he had been injury prone. They could have got Bo Callahan at 1.
But you can also look at what happened.
That was real, right?
Look at what happened with Andrew Luck.
Realistic.
There is a way.
Luck, there you go.
To not let him go, and I know that did come in.
What were the chances of that really happening? Like, let's be honest. Like,
I think they were taking calls on that. I honestly think that they were taking calls, and I think if the right offer would have come across, they would have done it.
We can talk about the success stories, but let's be real, the success stories are very few.
Oh no, 100%. But I think what we also have to keep in mind is the level of player that he is versus some of the guys we're talking about.
Absolutely.
And like the physical, like I think Cam can get over some of this physical stuff. You know, I really do. And I think
it's more
we saw that going the first 6 weeks of the season. I mean, he was on a career pace.
I think the bigger thing though is like we don't know what's wrong.
Just such an uncontrollable.
Yeah, but it's like someone brought up, Jake Delhomme and the Tommy John surgery. Like it'd be one thing if like, oh, this is what's wrong with Cam. You know what I'm saying? It's like we really don't know what's actually wrong. I know there's
we don't even know if the cleaning is gonna work, and
exactly.
then they turn around and say, "Well, guys, actually, we gotta have surgery."
Like it's one thing if it's like he broke his arm. Cool. See you next season. You know, it's like this is a little more involved, but I don't want to.
Here's the thing. I'll say this and I'll leave it alone. I am not questioning Cam Newton. I'm not questioning his heart. I'm not questioning his mentality. I am questioning something that he cannot control, which means the reaction his body gives to rehabbing, to surgery, to those cleanings that they're doing. That's what I'm talking about. This has nothing to do with Cam Newton as the competitor at all, but everything to do with if his body does not respond how they are hoping it responds. That's all this is about. It's not about me questioning him. And if we all know Cam's going to come back with a fire lit under him. We're not dumb. I'm asking if his body doesn't respond, he cannot control what his shoulder does.
Right. Yeah, and I totally get that. So good questions. We'll throw another one out to the people next week, Bobby. I like that new segment. I'm calling it Say What. You like that?
I like it.
But while we're here, let's go to some other hot takes around the web here. Here's one from OBJ comparing the Browns to the Patriots.
Ouch.
So I threw up the card there. Agree or disagree? The Browns are an actual Super Bowl contender this year. I don't mean playoffs. I don't mean wild card.
The fourth or fifth favorite in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean actually a Super Bowl contender getting through the AFC Championship.
Let me say what Chris has said for a long time. The game is played on the field. Championships are not won on paper. Is that simple?
That's a fact.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, who was it? The Eagles had the dream team?
Well, that was Vince Young. I don't think. I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt.
True.
I mean, here's the thing. What is this hanging on? Right? They don't have and this. I think people are forgetting this. They don't have a veteran quarterback that we've seen for years. They have a quarterback that caught lightning a couple of times, but second season. What is he going to bring? Same. I mean, it's not like we were expecting. It was like whatever Baker gives you. All right, cool. It's going to be great to see him in his first season. Whatever he gives them as far as success would be great because they have none, right? I mean, the bar was set so low for anybody to come into Cleveland and do anything, right? So let's just stop pretending as if these guys are, they've been good for 3, 4, 5 years. They haven't been. So you have new chemistry you have to work out. Then you have 2 prima donnas at wide receiver. And then not to mention you have a guy in Baker Mayfield who you hope hops on to what he finished with, but second season, you know how that goes.
What's up with Kareem Hunt? Is he suspended?
8 games, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, but he is still on the Browns.
Yeah, they're going to keep him.
Okay, so I'm just,
I know where you're going. Did you think they're going to trade for Tyreek? Not even have to do the free agency thing?
No, I was just looking at guys that are on that roster. That roster on paper, I know the Madden in us, looks at Myles Garrett, OBJ, Mayfield, Hunt if you get him back, Landry.
That defense was already pretty daggone good last year.
Yep.
And that offense was pretty daggone good last year. They've got a good line on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do this. Kind of reminds me of like what the Steelers were when Ben was young. Like Ben didn't have to win the games for him.
Right.
Ben had to be a game manager. And there's enough talent around there that they can win with a game manager. I think today they've got to be the favorite to win that division. I mean on paper the Steelers are a disaster right now. I mean I'm interested to see what happens to them this year, but I think that they can win that division. They have the Pats in the regular season. I think you'll see
kind of where they really stand in the AFC in that game in New England, because that's likely where you'll play that game. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
I mean, let's talk about these guys making the playoffs first.
Yeah.
All right. So
Touché.
I'm picking those guys honestly to go 9-7 this season. So we'll see.
Oof. I'd take the over on that.
Yeah, I haven't looked at their schedule, but I know they do have the Pats, so we'll see.
Everybody
Gillette.
beats them
Yeah.
in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's like to lose to the Pats in 8 years. So.
You never will, other than 03.
Hey, while we're at it, before we get into our real hot hockey talk here, Chris, on the web today, Dean Blandino is just such an idiot. I don't know if you guys saw this
Yikes.
quote. Blandino comes off talking about the sudden death, double overtime in the Blues Stars game to advance. What I mean, you don't get any playoff hockey doesn't get better than that. And he makes a little jab. Oh, it'd be. I don't even know who he's jabbing at here. Like fans.
I don't know if he's just not that dumb.
It would be so much more exciting if the Stars got a chance to match the game-winning goal with the ball. Obviously,
so what, you play the rest of the period, and
obviously
referencing,
happens? The cry to NFL overtime rules, and it's like, yeah, like sudden death. That's exactly what it is in the NFL.
Dude, he
used
was
to be
probably
like
2 bottles in, a white wine
I was gonna
last
like,
night.
does he think that was
just
funny?
Ooh, I got a funny one. Watch this.
Yeah, idiot. So. Does he still? He doesn't have anything to do with the NFL anymore. He's on like broadcast.
He's on Fox. Yeah.
So just kind of shows you who's making the rules here. But swing and a miss there, Blandino. I get what you were trying to do, but you did it pretty poorly. Don't compare playoff hockey to the overtime rules. Although, aren't they talking about that? Adding, I think they put up a poll, at least the NFL or something, about adding that stipulation, kind of like the NHL has a stipulation where the playoffs don't have the shootout of only in the playoffs each team getting the ball or something.
Well,
I can see that
playoffs,
happening.
it's a full period, isn't it? First one to score, but they don't play the abbreviated. Because that changed. What I'm thinking is like when we went to double overtime in the playoffs against St. Louis.
Yeah.
So that's always been a rule.
Yeah.
Overtime rules are fine. Don't change them.
Well, hey, speaking about hockey, Chris, I used one of your favorite artists here, Taylor Swift. Baby, let the games begin. Because again, I'm sorry, I'm a Bruins fan.
I would have gone with in game, but that's just me.
So what do you think? Bruins in 4 or 5? Like honestly,
I got Canes in 3.
Why does everyone keep saying that? That joke isn't funny. It's like
that was actually funny
because. If you look, everyone's like, "Oh, take warning, Den." It's like, I will, because if you look at it, outside of Madison Square Garden, the TD Garden is the worst. The Hurricanes have the worst losing streak or total losses in that building. Boston 2-1, 2-1 the season against them.
Stop you on some fake news here. That's probably
Because
including
of the Whalers. Yeah,
history.
I don't care. Still. 2-1 against them this year. The only time the Bruins lost to the Canes this year was on December 23rd, which obviously they were thinking about Christmas shopping, Christmas parties, not in the game, against basically a trap game, against one of the worst teams in hockey at the time.
Statistically, the worst team in hockey at the time.
So, 78 and 102 overall. I guess that does go back to Hartford.
Yeah.
So I don't know, take warning. I'm not taking warning right now.
That's fine. Bear down or whatever it is you guys do. Have some Dunkin'.
So
one thing you will be doing is watching the game without Charlie McAvoy. So being that he likes to hit,
he'll be fine without him.
Cheating son of a bitch.
So here's the thing about McAvoy. I totally penalty. Great. I thought he was getting a major, even if they threw him out of the game. I don't know. I knowing Charlie McAvoy, and I know that. I know him personally. Yeah.
We'll get him on the pod.
He comes over to the pod all the time. So Brad Marchand is sure.
He's a greaseball.
Annoying, greaseball, whatever, ball of hate. I hate that. He's a dick. But most of the other Bruins, Bergeron and Krejci, David Krejci used to come see my band play. No big deal.
Yeah,
good hockey player.
Guys have, and you're right, man. Charlie McAvoy doesn't have that reputation.
Right.
But unfortunately, you still just can't do that just because
I know
there's not a track record of doing it,
dude.
And I honestly think that this suspension is a bit of a wink and a nod at Marchand.
Okay.
Because of what he got away
fair.
with, and being like, "Hey, man, we're not fucking around the rest of the way."
So I thought it would be like penalty, whatever. I think Anderson embellished it a little bit, and just Anderson came back in the game very quickly, was not hurt. The hit didn't affect the game. Like, it was a 3-0 game.
That's why there's no reason for it.
And
I
it's,
think
it's just one of those
that
plays that
into it.
went the wrong way.
Dude,
I still don't think he left his skates.
He had a play on the puck. He was not trying to play the puck.
Fine.
He was looking to deliver a hit and hurt somebody. Well, I shouldn't say hurt somebody. He was looking to put the biggest hit he could.
He was looking to make a statement.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I forgot to throw up our graphic, Chris, because we have usually, not to cut you off there, I just forgot the graphic. We have Getting in the Sin Bin with Chris. And I've given you this wonderful segment where we've talked all year about the Carolina Hurricanes and about how the Bruins would not make the playoffs. Then they wouldn't make the first round. No, I never
said they weren't going to make the playoffs.
And then they would lose in the second round.
Check the tape.
Yeah, so now it's Getting in the Sin Bin with Chris
I can't help that
and
they have a track
Den.
record of losing in the second round.
Yeah,
that's not my fault.
I've hopped in the Sin Bin with you, if you see the graphic there. So this is now our segment, so now we can have a good time. But Chris, honestly, and I say this as a total, I don't want to say homer or whatever, neutral fact.
You're not neutral.
I said whoever won Columbus, Boston was going to the Cup.
Okay, well,
how do you it is, but how do you honestly feel about this series, especially starting in Boston?
Well, I'm not too worried about it. We have a winning record on the road in the playoffs so far.
But you did say, Chris, that the one team that scared you the most, and this was
from
like
a physical standpoint,
right?
And you see,
this was like a week
goons
ago.
like Charlie McAvoy going around just taking people out for no reason, so that proved my point.
Okay.
No, I said that I thought Columbus was the better team. I should have said I think Columbus was the hotter team because Boston was the number 2 seed in the East, and I think they had the second most points in the league, maybe third most. I don't know if they had more than Calgary, but Boston's physical. When you've got a guy like David Backes, who you guys are paying an assload of money, who is a healthy scratch most nights that you can just bring in. It's what?
That was a sick goal that he scored, the third goal. I don't know if you saw it.
It was. I think that was the first game that he played in the series, too.
Yeah, and then Rask's playing very well. At Bobrovsky, they finally rattled. I think that was a good series for the Bruins as far as where they were in the beginning of that, and then they showed who they were. So
I agree. But I'm just going to go with some facts right now. The fact is the Hurricanes are the Stanley Cup favorites in Vegas.
Are they
at
still
3-1,
even with this series?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that was as of
so one thing I meant to ask you, Chris.
So yeah,
would you say that Charlie McAvoy, for what he did to Josh Anderson, would you say that he's a jerk?
No, I'd say he's an asshole. That's completely different.
Just wondering. No, and you know what? Like I said, I like, especially for all of our followers, I've liked that the Hurricanes have done so well. Such a cool story coming back from what they were the worst team in the NHL, right? And so were the Blues, right?
Yeah, so it depends which side of the coin you like to tell it from, the Blues or the Canes. But I want to say on December 31st or December 30th, they were tied or they were within 1 point of each other for the 30th and 31st.
Yeah, I think it was January
or least
9th.
Amount of points.
I think I saw January 9th or something. I don't know why I don't
remember
that.
They brought up Binnington, and Binnington's just been a rock. He'll probably win Rookie of the Year. And you saw that dude last night just did not get – I don't know how much you made it into that game. I fell asleep during the first overtime.
Yeah, I didn't catch that one.
That guy, that guy's good, and he's going to be good for a long time. I think he's 19 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm watching San Jose's up 2 already on the Avalanche. So it looks like it'll probably be San Jose and St. Louis, which that'll be a good matchup. But I'm going to go off history. The Canes most recently beat the Bruins the last time they played in the playoffs.
We owe
with
you
the punch
for that.
heard around the world, as I think the Boston people.
2009, yeah.
Yeah, they
the
bring
Bruins
up,
were a 1 seed that year.
Yeah, we were the 7 seed, but
I think they were 6.
Shit happens.
So I come off as a very bandwagon Bruins fan, and I get that. But the thing is, I always say that I don't follow the Bruins too much in the regular season, but that also comes from somebody that
it's the best time to follow the Bruins.
There's a lot going on, with like the games and me. So one of the things about me though is I play almost every single weekend across the street from the Garden. So I'm watching the games. We get the crowds from the games. I'm talking about music, by the way, when I say I play. So I keep that very humble, my humble Bruins. I have I have a Bruins logo, Chris, on my guitar picks. You know, I don't throw that out there. I don't have my own sin bin segment, but I do follow the Bruins, and I just get exhausted watching them in like November. You know, it's just I don't know. It's not exciting to me.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Chris.
Why we don't talk about baseball?
I mean, Chris, I think what he's trying to say is we already know we're going to be successful, so there's really no purpose for us to.
I'm going to wear this every pod. That I think there might be only one more pod since 4 games will probably be next week. So
Game 4's Thursday, so suck it, you're wrong again.
Okay, so I'll be able to wear it once before the Bruins go to the Cubs. So anyway, good stuff.
Like, I'm going to be serious, man. Do you really think they're going to win? Like,
I do.
real?
I really do. I think they're a more physical team than Carolina.
So really quick. I think since we never got to see Chris eat the pepper, you guys remember the pepper?
Ooh.
I think I bet you don't. I think
I like where this
you
is
guys should have a bet. Then I got that same cup, man. Dope. I just want to throw it out. Yeah, it was like a 2-pack. Dope. So I think you guys need to make a wager on this pepper.
$10,000 cash.
No, fine. No. Let's really do this. Let's really do. What was the pepper? Wasn't it like a?
He was supposed to eat it based upon how many sacks.
No, but I'm saying, is there a specific kind of pepper?
Yeah, Carolina Reaper.
No, we can't do that.
Those things are gonna make you vomit.
Wait, you can't?
Well, I don't want to make you do that. Is what I'm saying. I feel bad if you.
I'm not worried about doing it.
What about a ghost pepper? Well, I don't even
like
think
the Diet Coca peppers.
I don't even think I can get a Carolina Reaper around here.
Oh, yeah, I'll mail you one. It's fine.
I'm not eating a pepper that you put in the mail.
That chip. We'll do that chip thing.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
That's still a thing.
You can order it off Amazon.
Fine, you heard it here. Whoever wins this series, the other person eats one of those chips. Yeah, thanks, Josh, on Facebook. Let me know on Twitter or Facebook, whatever, where to get one of those, and we'll really do it.
Amazon. That's where you get everything.
But
go ahead and order yours.
Well, thank God it's Amazon because we got to prime this thing because this series is going to be over real quick. So you're going to have to do it next Wednesday.
I got the Canes in
Thursday.
6.
So here's the thing, guys. All jokes aside, the series going 7 games. All right, so deal with it. However,
Canes might get one at home, maybe.
You guys have to do it live on air, on video.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It'll be on this Facebook Live, yeah.
Okay,
or
good.
YouTube, whatever we call them, this Periscope.
Good.
Yeah.
By the way,
I
it looks
like
like
that,
another
Bobby. Thank you.
another Boston team is on their way home. Looks like the Celtics.
Yeah.
Are
By the
getting ready to
way, I don't like the whole Boston like apocalypse of sports of them winning every.
I think the sweep is what you're looking for. The
Whatever.
Sweep.
I don't like that for some reason. And obviously, if it's not the Patriots, the other team I want out is the Celtics. I don't really care about the Celtics. I don't like basketball.
Well, now
Bruins,
the
Red Sox,
Celtics
yes.
are out. There's no reason for the Bruins to even roll out of bed tomorrow.
Bruins. So now the Bruins can win the cup, and I don't have to hear about the Boston thing. So it's like kind of a win-win. It would be nicer if the Pats lost, but whatever. But hey, this was fun. These time flies by on these things, man.
It does.
Just a few more things that we just wanted to note out. Greg Olson, man, donating a $2.5 million gift to build a pediatric cardiovascular and congenital heart outpatient clinic. That is awesome. He announced that after the Hardest Yard golf tournament Tuesday.
Nice.
Dude, idol. Don't even have to explain that one. Awesome gesture by him and his family. Dude, what the hell is Jameis Winston doing getting golf balls hit off his head, by the way? Like, what was that for?
Attention.
Like, every time someone does that, it's like, when they put the teas in their mouth, it's like, what are you doing?
Got nothing to lose, you know?
Yeah, it's like jackass.
Hey, I got a quick one for you. So Toucher and Rich, are those your buddies?
I feel bad about this one because they were having a big they hung up on someone today, right?
Yeah, not cool, man.
Yeah, and then they were kind of bashing Carolina, and they went through some stuff, and they were like, dude, their morning show is called the Mac Attack, and they were kind of like making fun of just the name, and I was like, bro,
that's not our morning show.
Those are my guys. What are you talking about?
We don't have a morning show in Raleigh.
You don't have Mac and all that?
That's Charlotte, dude.
I thought I don't know. I listened to it. Whatever.
I listened to it too, but that's not the Raleigh morning show.
Well, you know what he meant. I mean, I think that everyone looks at Charlotte.
Yeah, but I'm sure like some jabroni in Manchester probably listens to this, and calls it his morning
so,
show. I'm just saying
I don't know where
broadcast here.
I don't know exactly where you're going with this, but I will say that Toucher and Rich are usually what I listen to on the way to work, and I thought they were kind of dicks today.
It was a dick move. I did listen to it, and it definitely comes off sort of chachi. So not surprised that it's coming out of Boston.
But that is their thing. Like they're like, do you remember like Opie and Anthony?
No.
Okay, well it's like they're like the guys that are like, I don't know, almost like the Jay and Silent Bob of radio. They're just like that's like their
yeah,
like
but only
thing.
one of those guys talk, so that wouldn't be very entertaining radio.
Whatever, you get what I'm saying. But anyway, hey, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch us each week here on Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, whatever you want to watch. We're also on the riotreport.com. You can watch the video back, and the podcast will be out tomorrow over on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, however you listen to your podcasts. And we are in that scary, slow part of the season. So luckily we have this hockey series, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have it for another week or so, but...
well, yeah, I mean, like I said, it'll be done next Thursday, but...
Yeah.
And then you'll eat the pepper and whatever.
Trey Boston should be signed by Tuesday.
It's Boston, Carolina, episode 133. I have my Trey Boston jersey. I thought it was all lining up, but...
Oh, it will. He'll be signed by Tuesday.
All right, we'll see.
And some other big news, our pal Salesman broke it tonight. The skinny shoestring fries are still not back at Yard House. So real disappointment to
we'll have to get on top of that.
Out there. They had the perfect French fry.
What are they doing?
And they canned it. I just don't get it.
I know. I don't know. Well, there's still hope for them.
Yeah.
Just like the Canes. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week. Keep pounding.
Take warning.